getting out of a toxic relationship, you would think that you would get feelings of happiness, relief, freedom. But sometimes you find yourself getting stuck with beliefs that your ex implanted in your head. And worst of all, you're second guessing a lot of the decisions that you have to make and thinking that maybe she was right all along. If ever you've been exposed to gaslighting, then you know that it can be very damaging to your own self-confidence, your own belief in your own ability to even lead your own life. And I definitely felt that way when I first moved out of living with my ex after cohabitating with her for about 18 months. And even prior to that, there were a couple times that I really remembered where gaslighting really affected me. There's a consistent example that I can share was every single year she would like to take these girls' trips with her friends to get away, because at the time I was going to work full-time. She was a full-time stay-at-home mom, and all three of our kids were not in school yet. So if you're a parent and you've had to spend even just one day with three kids who are all outside of school, then you understand how much work, how much energy it is. So I didn't blame her. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. You deserve a break. You've been working hard. And so she'd do that at least a couple times a year. But when it came time for me to want my own time, to go visit my family, visit my friends who I don't see often, all of a sudden, her tune would change and she would tell me things like, well, you're gonna leave me alone with the kids? I mean, that's gonna be like 1 week alone without you. And, I'm like, well, yeah, like in the same way that you need a break from kids, I do too. Like, why can't I get that? And you know what she said? I'll never forget this. You at least get to leave the house and go to work every day and talk to adults. You get to be free of this for majority of your day. So going to work is a relief from being at home with your kids. And you know what's so fucked up? I believe that bullshit. I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And for a long period of time, I felt guilty for even thinking about trying to take time off or taking time away, being away from my kids and from my ex at the time, thinking that, yeah, you know what? At least I get a break. I get to see adults. She deserves this more than me. Bullshit. Y'all know that's bullshit. There's another example about towels, which I've shared in a previous video, but that one was one of the most painful ones. And for those of you that don't know, there was a time where I was folding towels in a bathroom and she all of a sudden stopped me and questioned why was I folding towels in a particular way, and then proceeded to tell me, how the hell do you not know how to fold towels after all this time growing up? Did no one ever teach you? And she was serious. She made me feel like I was a stupid idiot that had no idea how to properly fold towels as an adult. And so I started folding towels in that way because I didn't stand up to her. I let her just walk all over me. And for a certain period of time after I moved out, I still continued folding towels that way until all of a sudden I was like, what the fuck? Why am I doing this? I don't need to do this anymore. I can just stop. But when you're gaslit, sometimes it's hard to realize that you're still behaving in that way until you can recognize it, until you have the time away from that toxic environment and that toxic person to recognize it. And because of gaslighting, it also was one of the main reasons why I decided to cohabitate with my ex, co-parenting, living in the same house for about 18 months before I finally decided to move out. And part of the reasons were she would constantly tell me that if I were to move out on my own, financially it would be way harder and I would barely be able to afford anything and be able to enjoy my life. Plus, I wouldn't be able to see my kids full time. So it'd be better to stay living in the same house, co-parenting with her. And you know what? I believed her. And for 18 months, here I was thinking that I was doing a noble act by living in the same house, seeing my kids 100% of the time, which I absolutely loved, thinking that, it was better for me and for my kids, while she got to go fuck off and date many rich men, maybe not many, about 4 in the course of 18 months, while I lived there and still paid all of the bills, while she enjoyed the time of her life. Now, after the fact, when I'm actually living on my own, the reality is, yeah, financially it is tough, but not as tough as she thought, as she explained it, or that she defined it. I was able to actually find a new job, start making a little bit more money, have a little bit more financial flexibility so I could treat my kids a little bit more. But most importantly, I was outside of a toxic environment where someone was trying to constantly tell me how to live my life, which hugely benefited my mental health. So for those of you who are in this situation where you're about to go through divorce and you're trying to think about, should I stay or should I go? Looking back, I'm grateful that I did what I did for 18 months for my kids, only my kids, but it destroyed my mental health. So shortly I'm going to share with you one of the things that you need to do to recover from gaslighting, but if you can get out, get out. It's going to be hugely beneficial. The other thing that she would gaslight me about, and I wouldn't necessarily say directly gaslighting, but it kind of influenced me in a certain way, was we talked about what would it look like parting ways and living in different places outside of the family home that we own together. And she would comment how horrible it would be to downsize into a 2-bedroom apartment or condo with 1 adult and 3 kids, and how embarrassing that would be. And yet here I am, after moving out, all I can afford is to rent a 2-bedroom condo. My kids have a triple bunk bed in 1 bedroom, and I'm very fortunate to actually have found this place because it's got an outdoor pool and a hot tub that my kids absolutely love, and it's summertime right now, so we're just having the time of our life. I've been living here for 4 years now. It's been amazing. It's been beyond my expectations. But I only would have realized that, I only realized this after I finally moved out and was away from that toxic person and that toxic environment. So I feel sorry for many people who have been gaslit in the past, because it can be a very difficult thing to recover from, especially when you've been broken down over years. If you're not in the best shape physically and mentally and spiritually, it can hold you back, and it did hold me back for quite some time after I moved out. But the best ways to recover are doing the following 3 things. I already mentioned the first one: move out. If you can, find your own space, so that way not only can you be away from your ex and from that toxic environment, but you put yourself in a position where now you make all the decisions for yourself and your kids and your life, and nobody else has any influence on how you decorate your place, what you put in the place, how you set it up, what you do at any given point in time. Nobody. Find your own place, and you'll find your independence again and your own confidence in yourself again. Because for me, within my first year, when I realized that I not only could afford doing this financially, but that my relationship with my kids has become even way more closer than ever before, you realize that you can absolutely do it. Second thing you need to do, and I wish I did this earlier, is just completely cut off your ex and her family and all of her friends off from your social media. For some reason at the beginning I felt so guilty doing that, thinking like, oh my god, they're gonna think I'm an asshole. And then all of a sudden I just told myself, like, who gives a shit? What do I owe? I don't owe them anything. I gave up so much in my separation agreement, when we went through mediation. I gave up so much to the point where it was more than what I should have given up. But I did it so that way I could have some peace of mind to finally say I don't owe anything to them anymore, and they can't hold anything over me anymore. And I know that sounds a little bit unfortunate, but I have no regrets about doing that. I know I'm capable of making more finances again. It's just money, it's just assets. But my own peace of mind and my mental health was absolutely worth it. And because of that, it gave me the strength to finally just put up that wall, that boundary, to say no more. You don't get to see any more my life, my family, or my friends. And just remember, you don't need to share anything anymore. Whenever I make any type of arrangement with my ex, if I have to make an arrangement with my ex with our childcare custody, if we have to exchange days, I only share what I need to disclose in terms of date, time, reason, if it's for work, but nothing more than that. I don't even talk about my family and friends or what's going on, because they don't need to know about it anymore. When you start holding that stuff to yourself and protecting your family and your friends and your head against them, you start to realize not only how strong you are, but you also start to see that they start respecting you more, your ex and their family, because they realize that they really have no control over you. And as long as you're respectful to them, they will respect you back and respect the boundaries that you've put up. And that's the third point. Most importantly, throughout this whole time, especially if you've gone through a divorce, I mean, after a breakup, this is also relevant, but especially if you've gone through a divorce and you're a parent sharing custody of kids, be respectful and diplomatic to your ex. Might be a hard pill to swallow to some, but I'll put it to you this way. If you have kids, this person is going to be in your life for the rest of your life until your kids grow up, become adults, and you are raising them together. And if you love your kids, you want them to see a good example of what an amicable relationship looks like. Again, you don't have to be best friends with your ex. You don't need to hang out with them or do activities with them if you don't want to. I don't, and it's been fine. But as long as you're respectful and diplomatic, then for your own kids' sake, it's not gonna mess them up down the road and show them resentment towards others when you could be civil and adult about a serious situation like this. So I hope this message finds you well and that you can recover by using these 3 tips. Just remember that you are capable of making your own decisions, and once you find your space, you'll find your confidence again, and more importantly, you'll start thriving again. And this period of time that feels like hell after a breakup will eventually start feeling like heaven again. So thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.